I never thought I'd speak of this. But some nights, when the wind howls against the windows, when the desert feels close and suffocating even from hundreds of miles away, I remember, and I wonder if speaking it aloud will make it worse, or if maybe telling the truth is the only way to free myself from it. I used to laugh at ghost stories, at campfire tales, at all those so-called Skinwalker legends the Navajo kept to themselves. People treated them as a joke, a horror trope to scare kids. I was no different until the night I learned those stories were not just stories. They were warnings. It started when I was driving alone across New Mexico, on a desolate desert highway where cell service vanished for hours at a time. The night sky stretched endless, littered with more stars than I had seen in my entire life. At first, it was beautiful, comforting even, but the longer I drove, the heavier the silence felt. No other cars, no distant lights, just me, my headlights, and the empty desert. You know when you're being watched, that gnawing itch at the back of your neck that makes you keep glancing in the rearview mirror. I had it for miles, even though there was nothing behind me but an ocean of dark sand and sagebrush. At first, I tried to brush it off, road paranoia, premeta, told myself sleep deprivation. But then I started noticing movement along the sides of the road. Shadows, shapes. They darted just outside the edges of my headlight slow. Fast, almost on all fours. Coyotes. I thought, just coyotes. But when one of them stopped for a moment, just long enough to catch the gleam of its eyes, I felt my stomach turn to ice. Those weren't animal eyes. They were too forward-facing, too human, and they reflected the light in a way that made my skin crawl. I pressed the gas harder, speeding up, trying to shake the thought that something was pacing me in the dark. My radio started crackling, static breaking through the silence, and then a voice. Faint. It sounded like my mother's voice, calling my name. My chest tightened. She was hundreds of miles away, safe at home. Yet hearing the static, I swore I heard her say, "Stop the car. Come outside." My grip tightened on the wheel so hard my knuckles burned. That's when I remembered something my friend from Arizona once told me. He grew up near the Navajo Nation, and his grandmother had warned him. If you ever hear a voice in the desert, a voice you recognize, don't answer. Don't even look for it, because whatever's calling isn't who you think it is. I shut off the radio and drove faster. But the thing about fear is it eats at you. You start to doubt yourself. By the next gas station, I was a wreck. The clerk stared at me like I was pale as a corpse. I tried to act normal, bought a coffee, asked if there were coyotes around this area. He just looked at me, dead serious, and said, "If you're smart, you won't drive alone this stretch at night. They walk here." I didn't ask him to explain. I didn't need to. That night, I pulled into a cheap roadside motel, the kind where the neon flickers and the carpets smell like cigarettes. I told myself I'd be safe inside four walls, that whatever was outside couldn't reach me there. But around 3 a.m., I woke up to scratching at the window. Not like a branch, not like random noise, the steady scrape of nails across glass. I froze in bed, listening. And then came the voice, my mother's again. "Let me in, please. It's cold." I stared at the thin curtains, trembling against the glass. Too terrified to move. The sound stopped after a few minutes, though it felt like hours. When I finally dared to peek out the window at sunrise, I found prints in the dirt below. Not paw prints, not human footprints either. They were twisted, elongated, like something caught mid-change. My chest tightened, and I knew I couldn't just shrug it off anymore. Over the next few days, I started digging into the lore, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. The stories were all the same. Witches who wore the skins of animals, cursed to become something inhuman. Skinwalker. People whispered that they could mimic voices of loved ones, trick you into following them into the dark. And I thought, maybe that's all it was, just stories, until I stumbled across something that chilled me more than my own encounter. There had been a real report, years back, not far from where I had been driving. A group of police officers in New Mexico chased what they thought was a naked man running on all fours. It moved faster than any human could, darting into the desert. One officer swore it leapt over a fence, too tall for any person. The case was documented, mentioned in a local news segment. That wasn't campfire talk. That wasn't myth. That was real. And I realized I had brushed shoulders with something that law enforcement themselves couldn't explain. After that, things got worse. Driving home days later, I kept hearing voices when the static hit the radio. Not always my mother, sometimes my brother, sometimes my best friend. Familiar voices, each one pleading, calling me into the desert. I never stopped. But one night, the voice changed. It used my own. I heard myself, crystal clear, whispering from the back seat, "Look at me." My blood ran cold. I didn't look. I floored it until dawn. I don't know how I made it home without breaking down. But even now, in the quiet, I still hear it sometimes. The scratching at the window, the soft call of someone I love, asking me to let them in. And the worst part, I still don't know what would have happened if I had answered. But tell me this: if you were alone in the dark, and you heard the voice of your mother, your father, your child, calling to you from just outside the light, would you really have the strength not to answer? After that trip, I told myself I'd never set foot in the desert at night again. For a while, I stuck to that promise. I went back to my ordinary life, far away from those barren highways, pretending nothing had followed me home. But fear has a way of lingering. Even when you escape the place doesn't always let you go. At first, it was just dreams. I'd wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, convinced something had been standing over me as I slept. Sometimes, in those dreams, I'd hear scratching at my window again, slow and deliberate. Other times, I'd hear my own voice whispering things I couldn't repeat after waking. One night, the dream was so vivid I swore it wasn't a dream at all. I woke to the sound of my name being called, soft and urgent, like someone standing right at my bedroom door. My throat locked up. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And when I finally forced myself to look, the door was cracked open, slightly. Even though I always lock it before bed, I tried to tell myself it was sleep paralysis, a trick of the mind. But in the morning, the door was still open, and there were faint scratches along the wood near the handle. 3 deep grooves, like something had clawed its way in. I thought maybe I was losing my mind. But then I remembered something an old forum post had said when I was researching skinwalkers after my trip. Someone claimed that once you've seen one, once you've heard it call your name, you've been marked. It doesn't matter if you leave the desert, it remembers you. It waits. Weeks pass, and I tried to ignore it. But one night, while scrolling through my phone in the dark, I came across an article that made my stomach drop. A woman in Flagstaff had gone missing after pulling over late at night. Witnesses said she'd stopped on the side of the road, stepped out, and never returned. The only strange thing, a passerby claimed they heard her talking to someone arguing with a voice they couldn't hear. The case went cold. But I knew exactly what had happened. And that same week, my brother called me. He said something weird had happened at his place. He lived 3 states away, nowhere near me. But late one night, someone had knocked on his window. When he looked, he swore he saw me, my face standing in the yard, staring back at him. He called out my name, confused, and the figure turned and ran into the woods on all 4s. He didn't sleep that night. Neither did I, after he told me. If it could wear my voice, then maybe it could wear my face. The thought ate away at me until I couldn't ignore it. I needed answers. I drove back into the desert against every instinct, every warning, because I had to know what I was dealing with. I wanted proof that I wasn't insane. I parked near the same stretch of highway where I'd first heard my mother's voice. The silence was crushing, the kind of silence that buzzes in your ears. Hours passed. Nothing happened. And then, right around midnight, the air shifted. The desert went quiet. Not even crickets. Not even wind. I heard it again. My mother's voice, softer this time, almost sweet. "Why won't you come to me?" it whispered. I stayed frozen in my car, nails digging into the steering wheel, fighting every instinct to look outside. Then, movement. In my headlights, I saw it for the first time. A figure crawling low to the ground, too thin, its limbs bending wrong, as though it had forgotten how to be human. Its skin looked stretched, almost draped over it like it didn't fit. And its face looked like my mother's, but only for a moment. The features melted, twisting, shifting, until it was my brother's face. Then mine. It grinned. I don't remember starting the car. I just remember driving until the sun came up, my chest heaving like I'd run a marathon. But even then, I swear I could still hear it laughing in the back of my mind. Since that night, nothing has been the same. Lights flicker in my house when I'm alone. I hear voices through the static whenever I turn on the TV or radio, always someone I know, always calling me outside. Sometimes I hear my own footsteps behind me when I know I'm the only one home. I don't know what it wants. I don't know why it follows me. Maybe it's because I heard it once and didn't obey. Maybe it hates being ignored. Or maybe it's just waiting for the moment. I'm tired enough. Broken Anog to finally listen. The scariest part. Last night, I heard my own voice again. But this time, it wasn't outside. It wasn't on the radio. It was in the house. I was brushing my teeth, looking into the mirror, when I heard it whisper from right behind me. "Look." I froze. My reflection didn't move. And when I finally forced myself to glance over my shoulder, there was nothing there. But the reflection kept smiling.